if you're a successful physician, the number one key to your success is that your patients trust you.
Yes.
And so I translate that to our business. And if you develop and establish a trusting relationship early on with buyers and sellers, it transcends the business aspect of things. They trust you everything.
Welcome everyone to Mastering Luxury today with Sandra. I'm super excited for our guest today, Mitch Norgart. So out of Naples, so close to me, but not in my same exact operating area, but definitely within driving distance. You're probably about an hour and a half away from me, Mitch.
Yeah, it's straight across Alligator Alley.
Absolutely. Well, welcome. Thanks for being here today.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So let's start with your background. Like, how did you get into real estate? I mean, you've been doing this for 36 years, so you've got a lot to share with our listeners today. But first, I'd love to hear how you ended up here.
Well, thanks. It's interesting because I worked for Ritz-Carlton hotels for several years, and I was going to become the general manager of the Ritz-Carlton on the beach here in Naples. And the company said, we'd like for you to go to Detroit to our Dearborn, Michigan property because I opened it along with 4 other Ritz-Carltons. And they said, we think that you'll be the better general manager there. And then when you get done after 2 or 3 years, we'll bring you back to Naples. Well, that wasn't going to work for me. And so I told them I would give them 6 more months of my life. And in that period of time, I went to night class and got my real estate license. And that was 1989, 1990. And 6 months and 1 day later, I was licensed and went to work in luxury real estate in downtown Naples. And, the time I spent with Ritz-Carlton was invaluable because the training that you received and the training that every employee received was impeccable, and it was service oriented. The customer was always first and foremost, and the word no was not in your vocabulary. And so that was a great training ground for me, but it was also a wonderful transition for me and my family because I was traveling quite a bit with Ritz-Carlton. I'd leave on a Sunday night out of the Fort Myers airport and fly to Laguna Niguel, California, or to, New York or wherever. And I was having kids at the time. And so I knew that I was going to have to make a change. I just didn't know exactly what in this small town of Naples, Florida in, 1990. But real estate was kind of a natural progression because so many of my high-end clients who we hosted executive level committee members at the Ritz-Carltons, many of them were executives or CEOs, business owners. And invariably, I would get a question when they finally came to the Naples hotel. I want to buy some real estate here. I want to buy a condo. I want to buy a house.
Of course.
And I referred all my business out to my real estate friends. And so my very first transaction when I went to real estate was one of my former clients of Ritz-Carlton, who was a major CEO up in the Northeast. And he called me up and said, "Hey, I got your letter about you transitioning to real estate. Dorothy and I are going to buy a home. We've been staying in the British West Indies for the last 15 years. We want to stay stateside, and here's my budget." And not only did I sell them a beautiful home, a multi-million-dollar home, but it had an extra 1% bonus on the commission side.
Wow.
So my very first transaction, I made $90,000. And so
wow. And that was back in what year?
It was in 1991.
Wow.
Yeah,
great start to your career. That's an incredible story.
It was fortuitous, and it was a clear indication that was the path that I was destined to go down, because not only had I received great training, but I'd also met many high-level executives who, many of them had come to the Naples hotel for the first time ever being in Naples, and the Ritz-Carlton on the beach put Naples on the map. And now we have 2 Ritz-Carltons. We just opened up a 4 Seasons on the beach, and the condos not only is there a hotel there, but the condos on the beach range from like $16 to $70 million, and so Naples Naples has graduated to a whole new level of high net worth people.
Yeah, that's incredible. And what a great story that this all happened because they wanted you to move to Detroit, which I,
No
I,
way.
I get why you wanted to stay there. But like, what a great decision, like, to decide, well, today's the day I'm not going and I'm going to stay here. I'm going to start this real estate thing. And for your first deal, do you know how many people never get a deal like that? And it was
Yeah.
your first one.
Lightning struck, it was just you know, and I had great mentoring as a new realtor. And in fact, the office that I hung my license with was owned by two gentlemen. And one of them didn't want to hire me because I didn't have any experience.
Yes.
The other one said, don't worry about it. I'm going to mentor him and I'm going to help him with everything that he needs help with to be successful. And so for 2 years, Tom Overson, who was the other owner of the real estate firm, he mentored me. And he was a luxury real estate broker in downtown Naples, enormously successful guy. And I'm thankful to Tom for having the patience to work with me.
Isn't it incredible how one decision that one person made in your path, in your journey, just had such a big impact on where you ended up? Like, if he hadn't made that decision, your whole journey could have been completely different.
Yeah. Yeah. And he was perfect because in his former life in Iowa, had many years prior to coming to Naples, he was a boys basketball coach and a high school teacher. And so he knew how to mentor young men and he knew how to handle, he loved coaching. He loved mentoring. And so I was a lucky recipient of his expertise.
Lucky indeed. But what do you think he saw in you? Clearly, he saw something very special in you, or he wouldn't have dedicated that time to you.
I think, that's an interesting question. Because he was involved in sports for his entire life, and particularly men's basketball, he knew that I was a runner. He knew that I, had some self-discipline that to get up at 5 or 5:30 every morning and go for a run, and to keep my body in shape, but also my mind in shape. And I think he saw that in me.
Hmm.
And so I think he thought of me as, as a student and as an athlete that he could coach, and that he knew that with my background in Ritz-Carlton that I hopefully had some, some hope and, some prospective future in me in real estate.
Right. He saw some dedication and persistence and perseverance in you. I mean, you're not just an athlete. From what I have heard, you're an excellent athlete.
Well, thank you. I don't know about that, but I've been a runner my whole life. Back when I was a kid, the acronym ADD and ADHD didn't exist. You were simply hyperactive, right? And I have four older sisters, and my dad saw that he saw that I had a lot of extra energy. So being raised in Peoria, Illinois, we had cold winters, and if he saw that I was getting a little edgy, he would get his Timex watch on and go out to the front door and say, "Okay, run to the end of the driveway." And it was like 250 feet, and I'll time you. And he would have me do that like 6, 7, 8 times until he saw that I was physically winded. And then he'd say, "Okay, let's go in." And I would settle down. And so that's what got me into running, was kind of, trying to assuage my hyperactivity. And it turned me into a lifelong runner and triathlete.
Wow, what a smart dad you had to create that activity for you. That could have
Yeah.
gone in a lot of different ways, right? It could have resulted in yelling and sit down and behave, but instead he helped you funnel it, which is great.
Yeah. He saw that quickly, and I'm thankful to him for, understanding, how to harness the energy, but not to quell it in a
Right.
kid, and he was an athlete too. And so, yeah. And so running has been a huge part of my life that, there's nothing wrong with me that a good run can't cure is the way I look at things.
I love it. I love it. That's a great way to look at it. So tell me about the running today. I mean, you're still involved with a lot of different organizations, and that's like part of, your who you are. And so how does that also play a part in your real estate business?
Well, I think, from way up high, I think that when I deal with people from the Midwest or the Northeast who are somewhat familiar with Naples, but may not understand the culture of Naples and the community of Naples, I think once I get to know clients and they get to know me, they understand that the community is ingrained in me and I'm ingrained in the community. And I've raised 3 kids in Naples and now have 3 grandchildren here in Naples. And I'm thankful that they all went away to school and they decided to come back to Naples. And so, but I think the community involvement is a testament to how wonderful community Naples is. Not
Hmm.
just not just from a beautiful, scenery and landscaping and the beach and all that Naples has, but the philanthropic aspect and the charitable organizations and the cultural. We have we have Artist Naples, which is our cultural campus for art we have a Naples Philharmonic Orchestra, which I'm involved with as well. And so I think when people see that I'm involved, I think that is attractive to them because most people who come down here, they want to be involved as well. They don't want to just come here and hide. They want to be active in the community.
Right. And you're able to be a connector for those people because you're connected in those environments and you know the people. So it's probably a natural fit for you to be able to provide a lot of value, not just in the home purchase or the home sale, but in the connection to the community.
For sure. Fort Lauderdale on the East Coast, even though those are larger communities population wise, there are smaller communities within the community. And so I think when I find out what people are interested in, I can help guide them, to certain organizations, certain charities, cultural aspects, athletic aspects that kind of gives them the understanding that after 50 years of living in Naples, I'm pretty dialed in on helping people assimilate to this lifestyle.
Hmm. Hmm. What would
Yeah.
you say is the biggest challenge for people moving to Naples?
That's a good question. I would think that, you know, if you don't go to, because we have a plethora of gated golf course communities, which almost has its own built in society, right? And its own built in friendship and base, whether you play golf or tennis or mahjong or whatever, pickleball. If you don't live in a gated community, however, and you live in Old Naples or Aqualane Shores or Port Royal, it's not as easy to connect with people. And so the way you connect with people in Naples is it's easy to join so many different clubs and organizations. And many of them are volunteer based.
Mhm.
It's not like, you pay to join, you know, uh, any kind of an organization. It's you either want to be around people of like minded people and want to give back to the community. And if you don't, that's okay. A lot of people come down here to get on a boat and go on the golf course and, you
Yep.
know, be done. But many of the people who are attracted to Naples love the involvement that they can easily assimilate into very quickly.
Mhm. Mhm. I love that. So, I mean, you came from Ritz-Carlton, so you had a lot of connections there. So what is it that feeds your business now? I mean, it's been years since you've been at Ritz-Carlton. So what is it that you do now that continues to feed your business?
Generations, and people, and there's an interesting cycle. And Sandra, I know you have gone through this in your career. A lot of times people will come down and they're still owning a business or they're still working in Chicago or Minneapolis or wherever, but they want to get a condo so that they can zip down here for a long weekend or for 2 weeks, maybe a month. And and then all of a sudden they find that they can spend more time down here. And so now they're Now they're saying, you know what, we think we want a little bit of a bigger place. We want to move closer to downtown because we find ourselves driving to Fifth Avenue South or 3rd Street for dinner. And so within that network, I'm dealing with people who, as they continue on their journey, they're able to spend more time down here.
Mm-hmm.
And so they may go through a cycle of 2 or 3 different homes or condos before they say, okay, we're here 6 months and we're going to be up north for 6 months. Oh, and by the way, cousin, my sister, my son, my daughter, they want to come down and they want to get a condo. Can you help them out? So and then it's just generational where, I've had people from 30 years ago whose children were, 12 years old at the time, or 15 or 18. And now they're in their 40s and 50s and they want to buy their place. So you know the story. You've gone through that yourself, I'm sure.
Absolutely. So it sounds like it's a long-term game for you. It's not just a low-hanging fruit. It's the developing the relationships and nurturing those, not just with the actual buyers, but with their family over time.
Absolutely. And we stay in touch. My partner, Elle, she was a business owner for many years. She sold her businesses, came on with me about 4 years ago, but both of us understood not just immediate service and concierge level of service, but staying in touch with those people and, and having the ability and the opportunity to become somewhat personal with them.
Mm.
And, I think I'd like to make a quick analogy. And I was looking at your questions earlier, so I thought about this. Some of my best clients have been doctors. And after 2 or 3 transactions with physicians, I started to realize that they trusted me.
Right.
And so forming that trust and that bond was first and foremost and paramount in having a successful business relationship with someone. And I thought a little bit further about that. And if you're a successful physician, the number one key to your success is that your patients trust you.
Yes.
And so I translate that to our business. And if you develop and establish a trusting relationship early on with buyers and sellers, it transcends the business aspect of things. They
Mm-hmm.
trust you everything. And once you've established that bond or that trust, there's no questioning about them using you or entrusting their prized possession of a home with you.
Right.
And so I think that trust is the number one issue that has helped me and Elle in our practice.
I totally agree with you. How do you feel like you've been able to get their trust very quickly and at a high level? What would you say are maybe the top 2 or 3 things that you do that make them feel that way?
Yeah, I think in an order, it's listening to them and asking them questions about what their desires, their needs, their wants are, and creating kind of a list of what they may have said, whether it's a husband and a wife, a couple, an individual. What is it that they're looking for? What can we help them with?
Mm-hmm.
And, and I'm sure you've come across this before as well. We had people that came down looking for 12 to $20 million homes. And we showed them several homes. And the gentleman called us up one night and said, we're going to rent next year. And we really feel like we just need to stick our big toe in the water before we make this kind of a commitment. Do I know how many people, as you do, that when somebody tells you that, you go, well, I'll put a rental agent on you and I'll get you a great rental agent. Good luck.
Right.
We stayed with them. We found rentals for them to see. And as you know, the rental business is so different from the retail sales business, but we made ourselves experts as quickly as we possibly could. And this couple, they are so endearing to us because they know we could have handed them off. But,
right.
The point being is that I think that once we've established a great rapport and we ask them the questions of what is to them and and then provide them with an education. And oftentimes when people ask me, you know, how are you successful in sales? And I go, I am in sales, but I'm more of an educator. I'd
Right.
rather give people, I'd rather give people all of the accurate information that they need to make a decision and let them make that decision. And, you know, we're never assertive. We're never aggressive. We say, here's what it is. What would you like to do?
Hmm.
And, and so we listen as much as we possibly can to understand what's important to our customer.
I love it. And they probably appreciate that so much because they want to be heard and they want to make sure that you understand what they're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. And if they ask, if they want to know comps and, stats on what's going on with our region in terms of sales and listings and, average days on the market, we have all of that and for every neighborhood. And so we're adequately prepared to provide that information, but not everybody wants it.
Right.
You deal with a CEO. They're
They
looking
want what
from
you want.
either they want just the facts and all the facts and then be quiet.
Yep.
And so we've learned how to be chameleons depending on who we're dealing with.
Right. Right. Kind of using the disc profile, if you will. That's one thing that we focus on a lot is the disc profile. Like if we're dealing with the CEO, they want quick facts and they're going to make a pretty pointed decision, right? Versus maybe the high eye who wants to see all the marketing and the pretty pictures and, a different, different outlook on things.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's y- having the ability to observe and listen gives you so much of a playbook by which to move forward with these people. And like you just said, Sandra, it's sometimes they're touchy feely, and other times it's like, you know what, this is a business decision. Thank you for the information. We'll call you tomorrow morning. And so
Absolutely.
I love that diversity.
Yeah. And after over 35 years in this business, I'm sure you are very good at reading people and really know when to engage and when to hang back a little and give them space.
You hope so. My undergraduate degree is in psychology, but I don't know that I actually use that. I think it's more about observing and listening.
Hmm. Right. And understanding what they need.
Yeah, exactly.
I
Yeah.
love it. So you have quite a portfolio of properties under your belt. It's very impressive. I took a look at your sales history and you have had some really incredible sales and such unique and interesting properties that you've been able to represent. Tell me what is for a property like you have right now, the Coach House property at almost $13 million. What do you do differently for a property of that caliber versus, a 500,000?
Yeah, good question. I guess you throw everything on the wall and see what sticks. That would be my first initial reaction. But we spend a lot of money in luxury magazines,
Okay.
Wall Street, New York Times, you know, Chicago Sun, all of the major publications, and particularly with area codes and zip codes in the Northeast and in the Midwest
Hmm.
of high net worth neighborhoods. And so we have a database of about 30,000 emails that we send e-blast out. And we spent a lot of money on photography and on marketing, but it's a unique property. It's 22,000 square feet total
Wow.
area,
Wow.
14,000 under air, 8 bedrooms, 6.5 baths on 5 acres. And so it's unique in the sense that it's probably about a 10-minute drive to the beach in Naples, but it's not for everyone. And so you really just have to throw everything out there and hope that the right family sees it. And, we can profile it. I mean, that's not a good word to use, I suppose, but in Naples, if a family in Naples were looking, you look at a mother and a father who have the financial propensity to purchase something like that, but do they have a bevy of children? And
Right.
nowadays you don't find families that big anymore, perhaps expanded, but I don't know who has 5 kids right now or 6 kids, but
Right.
there's also the aspect that it could be a corporate retreat if the zoning would allow that, which if it's put under, an LLC or an individual's name, there's no reason why they couldn't use that as a corporate retreat. So believe me, Sandra, we've thought about all of the various outlets that we could explore and have explored in order to expose that property.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's, you've got to get creative, right? When you've got something unique like that and such a spectacular property.
Yeah, thank you. It's one that, as much as Naples has some neighborhoods that are kind of town and country where you're close in and you've got some property where some of them are even equestrian. And this one is, you could have horses there if you wanted, or chickens. But the likelihood that's probably not going to happen. But just right up the street about a year and a half ago, a 15-acre parcel with a home on it sold for just over 30 million. So we're in the stratosphere of, being priced at $13 million. It's not out of the realm of possibility that somebody will come along and pay cash.
Right. Absolutely. Well, good luck with that property. So, not everybody starts off their career at the Ritz-Carlton to get started in real estate and luxury. So, if you had one suggestion to somebody looking to really break into luxury or maybe to really expand in luxury, what would be your one suggestion?
Have a lot of confidence, be polished, have good grammar, be prepared to be tenacious with all of the information of your farm that you are attempting to enter into, become an expert, be well dressed.
I love it.
Perception is everything, right? I mean, you only have a first impression, but I think that if someone has that desire, it's not just the income potential, but it's also wanting to cater to and service people that are very likely successful themselves,
Hmm.
have some level of sophistication, are driven. And so I have found that those people that I have worked with over the years, and Elle with her business, you want to kind of be like them.
Right.
You want to emulate, you see the qualities that many of those people possess. And it's like, I don't necessarily want to be like them, but I would like to take on some character traits that they clearly have possessed in order to get to the level where they are today.
Hmm.
And so I think for those people who are those realtors, whether they've been doing it for 10 years, 10 months, or 30 years, you can't look at it just from the income stream, because your likelihood jumping into high net worth real estate is of being immediately or even moderately successful is less, right? Because the air is rarer up there. You have a better chance of farming a $300,000 condo community and getting sales sooner than, a 10 or a $15 million sale. So you've got to be driven. You've got to have patience, and you've got to be spot on.
I agree 100% with all of those. And I love what you said about the characteristics of the people you're serving, that's what we should be working towards. I hear a lot of people talk about you've just got to be in the same place. You've got to be around these people. Um, I don't think I've ever heard anybody say it quite the way you did of you need the same characteristics. You need the same drive, the same ambition. It's in a different industry, but I love that. And I think you're 100% spot on.
Thank you.
Well, Mitch, this has been a lot of fun. I could talk to you all day long. I am definitely going to be sending you some referrals because you are absolutely in an area that we're sending people your way and would love to have you work with our people.
Thank you. I'd love to send people your way too.
So Mitch, if somebody wants to get a hold of you, what would be the best way for them to reach out to you?
Well, my cell phone. I always pick up my phone 24 hours a day, 239-404-7007. But, and also the Norgart team realestate.com is our website. And so the website, or just look me up under Gulf Coast Runners if you don't want to look me up under real estate.
I love it. I love it. So if you want to do some real estate with Mitch, or you want to go running with him, you know where to find him. Well, thanks so much, Mitch, and good luck with that sale on Coach House.
I appreciate it. It's nice talking to you.
You too. Take care.
Thanks. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for Mastering Luxury with Sandra. Make sure to subscribe and follow us so that you never miss a moment of the inside look at luxury real estate.